Hello and welcome to episode 129 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so in this episode, I'll be defacing a website, and that'll be by compromising a Microsoft IIS FTP server. All right, so with that said, I definitely need to preface this video with my usual disclaimer, and that this is for educational, research, and ethical purposes only. Any sort of malicious actions that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so just to give a high level overview of what Microsoft IIS is and how it relates to FTP, IIS is actually short for Internet Information Services, and it's a web server used to host web applications, websites, etc. And Microsoft FTP is part of the Microsoft IIS solution package. So IIS hosts a file transfer a protocol server allowing remote users to upload and download files. So that's what I'm looking to exploit today to grant me access to this website to where then I can then manipulate its web design code and make it say whatever I want it to say, look however I want it to look. Okay, so to get started here, I've already done some pre-recording discovery. So I have my IP here, which is 10.10.46, and the target IP is 10.3.225 221. So I'm going to copy the target IP because I'm going to need that in the immediate future. I'm just waiting for my lab to catch up here. All right. All right, so I'm going to copy that, and we're going to move this guy way over here. All right. All right, so to get started, of course, I'm going to run an nmap scan because I have to make sure that both ports 21, which is the default port for FTP, and port 80, which is the default port for HTTP, are both open in order for me to pull this off. All right, so I'm going to run a very aimed nmap scan this time around. So I'm going to do a server scan as usual. All right, then let's see. Let's do this, and I'm going to actually specify ports 21 and 80 here. All right, then I'm going to give it the target host. All right, so basically this is going to scan ports 21 and port 80 and let me know if those are open or not. And if they are open, it's going to enumerate the protocols and the services running on those. And I should be able to see if I can if it has what I need for it to run on there for me to be able to exploit a potential vulnerability. All right, so we can see that port 21 is running FTP and it's running Microsoft FTPD, and port 80 is of course running HTTP and is running Microsoft IIS HTTPD version 7.5. So doing enumeration, seeing Microsoft FTPD service under port 21 and Microsoft IIS HTTPD under port 80 as services typically means that the FTP server is used to allow authenticated users to modify the web server directory. So my aim here is to become one of those authenticated users, and so then I could be able to manipulate what's on the web server. All right, so in order to do that, the first thing I want to find out is if this FTP server allows anonymous login, because some versions of FTP do allow that, some of the more legacy versions. So I want to see if that is the case here. So I'm going to FTP into, I didn't mean to do that. um, into the target host here. I don't know why it keeps putting this extra space here, but no worries. All right, and then I need to tell it that I want to do that into port 21, the default port. All right, and so it's asking me for a name, so I'm gonna say anonymous. All right, and ask me for a password, and I'm gonna just hit enter here because under anonymous logins, I don't need a password. So let's see if the admin has been doing his job. And apparently he has because I cannot gain access. All right, so good thing for them, bad thing for me. So I'm gonna exit out of here, and I have to try another way to gain access here. So what I can do is I can actually conduct a brute force dictionary attack against the FTP protocol here. All right, to try to get some login credentials and to try to authenticate with some legitimate credentials. So in order to do that, I'm gonna start up Hydra. All right. So since I don't know the username, I have to give it a capital L, and then I have to specify where the word list that I'm going to be using to try to run against the target host against the username here, or to try to crack the username is located in user share word list metasploit Unix underscore users and dot txt. That is the word list that I'm going to be using as far as trying to successfully guess the um the username here. All right, and then I had to put -p to specify the password word list. So it's going to be located in the same directory, but of course it's going to be a different word list. And I shouldn't have said of course because you don't have to use and I'm going to show this perhaps in my next video. You actually don't have to use um, a specific word list for a specific credential that you're trying to crack. So meaning that even though you know Unix users ideally is aimed at cracking the username, I can use that as the password word list to try to crack that if I wanted to. So depending on, they just may have different types of different types of oops, I'm gonna use passwords here. Just different types of words or phrases. So, one's just more suitable for running as far as guessing passwords. One's more suitable for guessing plain English names. But I mean, they can both be used interchangeably, however you want. So just don't think you're restricted to only using Unix passwords for guessing passwords or Unix users just for guessing users. You can mix and match them just to kind of experiment and see if you get a different result if you cannot find a user name and a password combination. So I'm gonna be experimenting with that perhaps in my next video, just showing how that can be done. All right, so I'm gonna give it the target IP here, and then I have to specify the protocol that I want to aim this at, which is going to be FTP. All right, so just checking my syntax here. See no goof ups from my fat fingers or my keyboard here. Everything looks good, not missing any S's. I am. Okay, there we go. I am notorious for missing S's. All right, there we go. All right, let's get this on the road. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna let it do its thing And I'm gonna just guess 2 accounts, and then I'm gonna cancel this. So that's good enough. All right, so that was actually pretty quick. All right, so I'm gonna do Control C. All right, to terminate the hydra session. So we found 2 accounts. So we found it looks like a regular user account with a login, a password, a vagrant, and also an administrator account with the of course username administrator, password, vagrant. So of course these aren't very well named accounts, nor passwords associated with these accounts, because they were easily cracked by hydra. All right, so I'm going to use the administrator account because ideally I want an account with elevated privileges, so I don't have a lack of privileges holding me back as far as what I can and can't do once I gain access to the server. So let's try to FTP in again, and this time I'm gonna use the administrator account instead of trying to log in anonymously. So this time I'm gonna say administrator. All right, the password is vagrant. All right, looks like I logged in successfully this time. All right, so I'm gonna list out what's in the current directory that I'm in. So I'm gonna do a list all. All right, so I don't miss anything. All right, so a couple of interesting things here. So I meant to show in the beginning, go to where what was hosted here on this site. So let's take a look at that so I can explain some things. So I'm gonna just paste the IP address. So we just have a ha 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 image here. All right, not very clearly on here, but we can see that, kind of like a joker, almost like a joker ha 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 laugh at us. All right, so moving that over here. All right, so we can see the ha 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 dot JPEG image. So this actually is confirming that even though that I've logged in with an FTP session, is that those that FTP and that IIS web server, they're being used and I guess together in tandem to the where I can access the web resources, by using the FTP, because it's all bundled in with those ISS ISS excuse me IIS services. All right, so that's kind of a drawback here, because once I gain access again through FTPs, which should be locked by default or closed by default or filtered by default, because it's a clear text protocol, not really a safe protocol as SSH is, which I think my next video I'm gonna show how that kind of has the same vulnerability as to this, just to prove that this is just not an FTP issue. Um, but yeah, because I was able to use, because that's so tied into the IIS services, I was able to access um, um, resources by successfully logging into FTP. All right. So some other things we want to check out that's interesting is that we see that there's actually an ASP file on here, okay, which can be executable. So if I wanted to be able to test to see if this ASP is allowed to execute on this server, I can just go to try to execute it here from the URL here. So I'm gonna say put in the file name kyodo dot ASP. So if I hit enter and it executes, it doesn't give me an error. That lets me know that I can execute ASP files on this server. So let's see what happens. Let's see if I get an error or not. And I didn't. All right. So apparently nothing's in this file. All right. Or if it does something, it's not anything that I can visibly see from where I'm sitting. But it lets me know that I'm able to successfully execute an ASP file on this server. So with that said, technically, I genuinely, I think I want to make a ASP payload here to try to execute on the server, and perhaps then connect to a multi-handler to establish a connection server via Meterpreter. So let's see how far I get with that, and to see if I can actually gain access that way. All right, so I am going to exit out. All right, now that I'm out here, let's create that ASP payload. So in order to do that, I'm gonna use MSF Venom. All right, and then I have to say dash p lowercase p to specify the payload. All right, and I'm gonna say I want it to be Windows shell. Let's see, the directory is reverse, because I want it to be a reverse shell, and I want it to be reverse. Oops, TCP. Since we're aiming at a TCP port here, and and the L host is going to be my IP address. So let's grab that from mousepad. Right, and then the L port, I'm gonna set that to 1234. All right, and then the format that I want this in is going to be ASP, but I'm going to output it into a file called shell.aspx, which will still output into that type of format. It just may work better for this sort of execution. So I'm gonna try out this specific type of ASP format. All right, so just checking my syntax here. Everything looks good to go. All right, so let's get that created. All right, so it looks like that was successfully created. So I'm gonna check my my local directory here just to make sure that that is in there. We'll do a list, and we can see shell.aspx is in there. All right, so I'm going to try to place this on the on our FTP server on our target host. All right, so I'm gonna log back in as administrator. All right, give it the password. All right. And so basically to upload this file onto there, I need to do a put, as in like the put method. All right. Shell dot aspx. And this should upload that and onto this server, which it looks like it did successfully. And I can confirm that by doing a list, and we can see that right here. Okay. So now that that's there, I need to execute this file. So I'm gonna execute it the same way that I did. Well, actually, no. Before then, no. I actually need to set up multi-handler. So I'm gonna do something different that I haven't done before in my video, and I'm going to set up another terminal by splitting this one in half. All right. So don't know if everyone can clear this. Might be a bad idea because yeah, you can't necessarily see everything on the other side, but let's try to do this over here. And let me see, does that? Yeah, no, it doesn't change. Okay, so focus over here for right now. And then when we jump over here, I just may have to change some things up just so everyone watching can follow what's going on. All right, so over here, I'm going to jump into the Metasploit framework to set up a multi-handler to basically listen for a connection. So I'm going to set up that listener and then execute the file and basically set the multi-handler up in a way where it matches all the configurations that I set up in my payload in MSF Venom. So when I execute the file, that connection is received by the multi-handler, and I could then gain a interpreter session. That's the idea. So let's see if that works. All right, so I'm gonna say post gray SQL to start up the post gray SQL server. Let's just delete that. I'm gonna start that and then combine that with the step to start up the MSF console. All right. So no need to set up a workspace here since I'm going to be using multi-handler. So I'm not going to be jumping from module to module here. I'm just basically going to be using this for just for single purpose. All right, so now that I'm in here, I'm gonna just say use multi-handler. All right, and then we need to set the payload to the same payload that I use with MS Venom. Let me move this up a little bit so it's not in the way. All right. All right, so that was Windows shell and reverse TCP underscore TCP. All right. All right, then we need to set the L host to my IP address, which I should still have the memory here. Let me see. Yep, that's me. All right. And then we're going to set the L port to the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. So ideally, this should work. All right. So let's run this. Wait till that starts up. Okay. All right. So that started up. So now it's time to execute that shell file. So I'm gonna say shell.aspx. This may or may not work. So let's see. Yeah, and it looks like that failed. All right. So I got an error. So yeah, so that's not going to be um a good entry point into this into gaining more control over this server, getting going directly into it either through Meterpret or even a shell. All right, so there are other ways though. All right, so I'm going to try a different way to access this. All right, so I'm actually, if we remember, going back, I'm gonna exit out of this. Well, no, you know what? Let's keep this up for the time being because I'm actually going to need this window. All right. So let's exit. I'm going to do a Control C to terminate that. And let's exit out of Metasploit. All right. So over here, don't really know how to make that any bigger. Ah, there we go. Okay. Great. That worked out perfectly. All right. So I need to exit out of well, let me see. I may or may not need to exit out of this because it may have closed it because it may have timed out. My connection here may have timed out, but we'll see. But one thing I want to try to manipulate here is the index.html file, all right, which basically controls what we visually see on that front page of the website. All right, so if I can manipulate that code, I can manipulate what is shown on the actual website without necessarily having to go um, um, into any further into the server itself. All right, so to do that, let's do a get index Now I'm being the opposite of put, so now I'm downloading this into my local directory. So get.html, I mean index.html. Yeah, and I figured I would have to exit out and go back in because my connection here might be closed. So let's exit out of that and then FTP back in, giving it the credentials. All right. All right, back in. So then let's do that git command again. All right, looks like that's downloading to my local directory. So let's check on that. Exit, and then let's do an ls. All right, so we can see that in the index.html file within my local directory. So I'm gonna use my file editor to go in and take a look at the HTML here and see how I can manipulate the markup language to say something, to send a clear message here to the good folks hosting this website. All right, so we can see the HTML tags here. Then we have the header, the body, and some other markup language. So the main thing we want to look at here is I want to get rid of this this ha 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 image that's taunting me here, okay? Because I want to have the last laugh. So let's just get rid of this thing right here. All right. And so I think I want to change the background color of the website to red instead of black. So let's write red. And then I'm gonna add my own little message here for these guys. All right. So in the body, let's tab over and let's add a new header. So I'm gonna add a header tag here. All right. And then I'm going to deliver a message to these guys. All right. And then, all right, so I need to close this header tag. All right. And so basically what I've done here, so I've downloaded the index.html file, in which is basically is houses the HTML code that we saw on the front page of that website. So now that I've downloaded that file, I'm manipulating the HTML code here because I gained access to the web server via FTP. Now I'm able to get a hold of the front page, and so basically, I'm just changing some variables in here. So basically, I've gotten rid of that ha 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 image, all right, and I've changed the background color to red, and then I've delivered my own message here, telling them that I just own their website. Ideally, once I exit and save here, I'm gonna re-upload this to the FTP server and then reload the page and see if that indeed worked. All right, so I'm gonna do a Control X to exit and then Y to save. All right, and now I want to go back to the target host via FTP and do a put command to upload this there. All right, so I'm going to say administrator. All right, and then give it a password. All right, now let's put index.html, my version of that, and it's going to basically write over the current version once I put it in there. All right, and let's see what happens. All right, let's reload that. Bam. All right. So your website has been pwned. All right. So that is how to that is a way to deface a website. All right. I definitely am not advocating for that, because even in most ethical ethical engagements, you're usually not allowed to do stuff like this. But just showing, I just wanted to show here some ways in which a web service can be compromised via an insecure protocol, like FTP with a horrible password policy. So two things cause this to basically become compromised of using a number one, an insecure protocol like FTP, which shouldn't have been used in the first place. Something like an SSA should have been used instead. However, like I said, in my next video, I am going to be covering how using SSH doesn't necessarily protect you for something like this, and how that can be compromised as well. And then using having a terrible password policy that allow for weak passwords such as vagrant as a password, a plain English word with no special characters, um, um, capital letters or anything like that, any sort of complexity required for the passwords, and then allowing that same username password combination to be allowed for just another account. All right. So, and then again, so once I was able to crack those passwords using Hydra, yeah, I used the administrative credentials to log in to the FTP, which then allowed me to gain access to the IIS web resources. All right. And then once I downloaded that index file, I was basically able to manipulate the source code here for the website. And then also, I don't want to forget my failed attempt at trying to gain a interpreter session with this target host by creating a shell ASP executable, which failed to execute on the target host, which if it did successfully execute, I wanted to gain a interpreter connection via multi-hand. That method didn't pan out, but this one did. All right, just showing multiple ways we could try to gain access to a target host once we find those vulnerabilities. Again, finding several vulnerabilities, and the fact that FTP, um, and, poor password policy, and then allowing for executable code such as that ASP being allowed to execute on that server. All right, so please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly,